I didn't live my 20s according to the rules or according to what everyone else was doing. At times, of course, I would feel like I'm behind in life or as if I needed to change something, but in the end, I'm really glad that I didn't, that I just pursued what I wanted to do and that I took advantage of the fact that I was 20, I was 25, I was flexible, I was young, and I was not tied down to one specific job. So I took all opportunities that I could get and I wouldn't change a thing. I feel like as a 20-something, you are still expected to know what you want to do in your life and know it early to be successful. My life journey, however, was the total opposite. After 4.5 years of being a flight attendant and seeing the world, I quit this job to work in finance and accounting, and this was my first well-paying job in my life, and I had just turned 30. So if you're someone who also sometimes feels like you're behind in life or that your life journey looks very different to those of your friends or of the average 20-year-old, what even is an average 20-year-old? Come on. If this is how you're feeling sometimes, then this video is for you. It will be a chatty sit-down video where I'll talk a lot about my personal journey, and I also want to talk about the pressures we have as 20-somethings to figure out what we want to do with our lives and kind of have it all together by the age of 30. So let me start with giving you a quick rundown of my life. I didn't go straight to university after my high school ended because, well, first of all, I wanted to take a break, so I took 1 year off where I did various things. One of them was an internship at an NGO abroad. But one of the reasons I didn't go straight to uni was because I didn't know what I wanted to study. Well, I did decide on international business at some point because I really liked languages, I really liked math, and that combined the two of them a little bit. However, the economics part was very difficult for me in the beginning, but I got used to it. So that's what I studied my bachelor degree in, and I took any opportunity I could get to go abroad, to travel. So I did a semester abroad, which was mandatory in our studies because it was international business. So I went to Spain for a semester abroad, and then for my internship semester, I also went abroad and went to Indonesia. And then for all the semester breaks that I had, I would try to travel as much as I could because I really loved that. After my first degree, I felt like most of my friends, my university friends, or also other friends who had studied something different, they would go straight into their jobs, they knew what they wanted to do, or they went to pursue a master, a second degree. And I didn't really want to do that. I didn't see myself at an office at this point. I had a dream that I just wanted to live my day and study a little bit of languages because languages has always been a passion of mine. So I decided to move to Berlin, where I was from originally. I took some time to study languages, and just because I wanted to improve my language skills, not because I wanted to be a language teacher at some point or I wanted to monetize my language skills at some point. It was just for me to improve my languages. And in this 1.5 years, I only did what I was passionate about. I only ended up taking jobs to pay for the bills a little bit, but I also lived in a student community for international students where I didn't have to pay for the housing because I worked there as well. So I kind of worked like the least amount of hours possible to afford my life, and that's it. So that's what I did for 1.5 years. I studied languages. During that time, many of my childhood friends actually got married. They knew who they wanted to end up with, where they wanted to live, and what they wanted to do with their lives. And meanwhile, I was all over the place. I was moving every couple of years. I haven't started a real corporate job yet. And my next step wouldn't be that either because I couldn't see myself in an office yet and I wanted to do something else. I wanted to travel and see the world. So I actually decided to apply for a job as a stewardess. So I ended up moving to Frankfurt, where the biggest airport of Germany is, and this is where I was based and where I was flying out of. I was 26 at that time, and during my years of flying, I became a master of getting to know cities within 24 hours, seeing it all or seeing the most important things, getting a feel for the city, do sightseeing, go shopping, do everything in 24 hours and then fly back. Sometimes we would have 2 days, so 48 hours. And if we had flights within Europe, the time would be a lot shorter. At that time, many of my friends actually started having kids and some started to buy houses, and I was still flying around the world. The job as a flight attendant was quite challenging for me. I mean, you have all the difficult or rude passengers, then you would have the long working hours, night flights, you would be on the go constantly. And then additionally, I'm not a person whose natural instinct is customer service. So even though it was my dream job, I still loved it because I did it for the layovers, for going to all these different cities and to see different countries that I have never visited before. During the time of me being a flight attendant, I actually moved to France for 4 months during the winter because we would fly a lot less during the winter. So I would only have around 1 or 2 flights in the winter. So if I had a flight, I would go to Germany for the flight, do the flight, and then return to France. And I had always wanted to live in France and I really wanted to work on my French. So that's just something that I had the idea and ended up doing it. And I don't regret it at all. And because we had a lot of free time in between flights, I also decided to do a master's in finance, accounting, controlling, and taxation. And that's what I did from 2019 onwards. After 4.5 years of being a flight attendant and seeing the world, I quit this job to work in finance and accounting. And this was my first well-paying job in my life, and I had just turned 30. So my entire 20s were a long journey of me actually pursuing what I wanted to do in life, whether it be studying languages, traveling, or studying finance. I never felt the need to have a more stable life or have a better paying job at that point in my life. And I also didn't know whether I ever wanted to pursue a career. And with that, I mean do very well and climb the corporate ladder, become a CEO or CFO. Some people might say that now it's too late, that I'm 30, and if I had wanted to pursue a career and become very successful in my field, that I would have needed to start earlier and commit to it while I was young. But I don't know whether they're right. I mean, for some people, jobs aren't the most important thing in the world, and if you're someone who doesn't even know whether you want to pursue a career or not, I don't think you should hustle through your 20s just to get to a point or just to do what other people are doing at that point in their lives. For me, a job is to pay the bills, to pay for my life, and I don't live to work. My work is to pay for my life. There's one more thing I forgot to mention, which I think is an important detail, and that's that in my mid-20s, I was struggling with a lot of depression, and I was working as a flight attendant at that point, and there were many times that I was so glad I had the job as a flight attendant, because traveling was something that I was still excited about, even though there weren't many or any things in life that I was truly excited about. For me at that time, it was impossible to see myself in a corporate job, to be working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So that's just another proof that not everyone's life journey can be the same. There are just some things like whether you get sick or you don't, whether you're actually able to work full time, whether you have to take care of maybe a sick family member or maybe of your family financially as well. These are all different things that will impact your life. There were quite a few times that I felt behind in life, behind in relationships, behind in my finances. I mean, so many of my friends had a decent paying job or a well-paying job from like 24, 25 onward when they had just finished their bachelor or after they had finished their master, when I was still studying for fun my languages and I was flying around the world. So they did have the opportunity to save, they had the opportunities to start investing, to save for a house, to start building their wealth, while I didn't really have the option. When I was a flight attendant, our monthly pay would vary. So in a very good month, I was able to save around 500 euros, which would be around $500. But many months that amount was a lot lower, and there were also many months where I didn't have any money left over at the end of the month. We cannot compare ourselves or our financial situation to someone who's done something completely else in their lives. So me, for example, who didn't have a well-paying job or even a stable job for until I was 30, I cannot compare myself to someone who's had a well-paying corporate job at 24 and worked for 6 years and was able to save between, let's say, 500 to 1,000 euros every month. So obviously that person will be far ahead of me financially. So not only our personal or our work journeys are different, but also our financial journeys. So don't compare yourself and your situation to the one of your friends or to someone online. I could also say, well, there are people 5 years younger than me who have started their own business, who make thousands with YouTube, or someone who has bought their first house at 22 or 25, while I'm here at 31, still living in a shared apartment. I don't own a house. I don't even have enough money for a down payment yet. And I have just started out with my corporate job. But I think it wouldn't be fair comparing myself and my situation to theirs. So what if I'm not as financially successful as them? I have used my 20s to travel and to pursue what I loved, and money just wasn't that important to me. I still have my entire 30s, 40s, 50s to create wealth. And by the way, can the 25-year-old fictional CEO that I was talking about before, can they say that they have traveled to 20 countries, been to I don't know how many cities just because they were a flight attendant? No. Maybe you also feel like you're not living according to the rules. But what are the rules anyway? Why do we feel like there's only one certain way to live our lives, or one correct way? I would argue that for our generation, of course, the norms of what life should look like have changed from the generation of our parents, because our parents were still expected to all have a family by the age of, I don't know, 25 or something, or have one job your entire life. But even though our generation might not be forced into these stereotypical traditional roles anymore, I feel like as a 20-something, you are still expected to know what you want to do in your life and know it early to be successful, whatever that means. I feel like we need to have it all figured out in our early 20s so we can work on our goals, we can pursue our careers in our mid to late 20s. But for some people, it's just not a goal in life to be super successful in their careers. They might not want to earn a lot of money, and they might just want to live a quiet and peaceful lifestyle. Ultimately, I think it really comes down to your personal values. If your priority is traveling or friends and family, then it's perfectly fine to just do a job that pays for that pays your bills, and that gives you all the experiences in your 20s. Why would you need to sacrifice a lot of time and effort in your 20s to pursue a career that might not even be your life goal? Maybe career isn't your ultimate goal. Then why would you need to work on that? For me, my 20s were the time for experiences and for traveling and pursuing the things that I loved. Of course, I didn't earn a lot of money, but that wasn't my priority. For me, that was the perfect time to pursue it. If not now, when then? Maybe one day you will have a family and you have settled down and it will be more difficult to travel, for example. Or for me, if I had a family at that point, I couldn't have said, okay, I will move to France for 4 months. That wouldn't have been possible. But it was because I was flexible, I was young, I had a job that was quite flexible. I could have also just quit the job and then find another one. In your 20s, you can see your life more flexible, I think. I'm trying to think whether I would actually change something about my 20s or wouldn't. I have thought about that in like the finance perspective before, and sometimes I wish I had a better paying job earlier on in my life so that by now I would have a house, that I would have saved up a nice cushion. So from a mere finance perspective, of course, it would have been helpful to have a different life journey, but I wouldn't really change a thing. It sounds cheesy, but I feel like our experiences are something that they can't take away from us. By now my tea is cold, but let me just give you some final thoughts on this topic. Wherever you are in life, whatever you are pursuing in your 20s, whatever point in your life that you might be at, try to be present and try to be fully there. Try to embrace the journey. Appreciate all the little things and all the unique things that only you can experience in your life journey, and don't compare yourself to others who are at completely different stages in their lives. Don't compare yourself to them financially, career-wise, relationship-wise. Just don't compare yourself to them at all. This will only lead to disappointment and resentment. And have in mind that it always seems like people have it all together and have it all figured out. That's kind of the impression that you give to the outside world unless you actually tell them. So if you haven't really talked to someone about it, then you can actually suspect that they have it not all figured out. And everyone has at least one area in life that they're struggling with or that they're not happy with, that they would like to evolve. This is not just something we experience in our 20s. This will be our entire lives. There will always be an area like that. And remember that their goals in life might be completely opposite to your goals in life. And if that's the case, then it's completely normal and fine for you two to go in different directions because your goals are different. I think I'll leave you guys with that. If you like this video and you want to support my channel, then hit the like button and comment down below something that's unique to your life journey that you really appreciate. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in my next video.